юм шинжилгээг өдөртөн зохион байгуулж байгаа боловсон орчинд Web of Science Монгол Улсын их сургуулийн хамтарсан сургалтыг зохион байгуулж хийж байна. За ингээд энэ талаар өөрийнхөө бид мэдээлэл өгье гэж бодож байна. За өчигдөр Clarivate Analytics Web of Science болон Монгол Улсын их сургуулийн хооронд хамтын ажиллагааны гэрээ зурагдсан. За энэ гэрээний хүрээнд Монгол Улсын их сургууль дээр жилдээ 2 удаа нэг сарын хугацаатаагаар үнгүй Web of Science-ийн бүрдийн санд хамтаж оролцох болцоо нэгдсэн байгаа. За дээр нь бол бас Clarivate Analytics Монгол Улсын их сургуульд тодорхой хэмжээний зөвлөгөө өгөх судалгааны ажил дээр нь судалгаа анализ хийж тэрнийхээ хариу өгөх иймэрхүү одоо хамтын ажиллагааны үйл ажиллагааг дэмжихээр гэрээ зурагдсан байна. За өчигдөр Web of Science Clarivate Analytics компани сургалтанд бол Монгол улсын 6 сургууль дээр нэгэн манай Монгол Улсын их сургуулийн салбар сургууль болон бүрэлдэхүүн сургуулийн одоо ярьж бас хамрагдсан байгаа.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and my name is Lin Wang, and I'm a solution specialist from Clarivate Analytics. And this is actually the second time that I am in Mongolia, and it is a great honor to be invited by the National University of Mongolia. And today I'm going to give a presentation on the acceleration of university development and globalization with strategic use of data. So yesterday, my colleague Deborah just introduced the use of Web of Science to the audience. And actually, the Web of Science database in our company is designed for researchers to do the research discovery, to finding ideas by using the Web of Science. But I believe that most of the audience today are the management team from the university, the administrators from the university. So today I'm going to introduce other databases from our company. Actually, those databases are designed for our administrators of the university to use the data and analytics to analyze our university's performance and etc. So before my presentation today, please give me several minutes to give you a brief introduction of our company. So this slide shows a portfolio of our trusted brand. And I believe that from yesterday's presentation, so all of you are very familiar with our Web of Science database, which is designed for the scientific and academic research. And besides Web of Science, our company also has a series of other trusted brands, such as the Derwent, which is for the patent research intelligence, and we also have TaxRate, which is for the industry codes and standards. We also have Catalyst, which is for the life science intelligence, and also we have CompuMark, which is for the trademark research and protection. And we have Mark Monitor, which is for the domain and brand protection. And we also have the IP management system, and which is for the intellectual property management. So our company actually has a very long history, which is back to the 18th century. So from the 1864, the zoological records was founded from this point. And also in 1955, as mentioned by my colleague Deborah yesterday, Dr. Eugene Garfield just invents the citing indexing. And in the 1957, the ISI was founded by Dr. Eugene Garfield. And in the 1963, Dr. Monty Hames began to sell the patents in his home, which is called Derwent today, which is very famous patent database. And also in the 1997s, the Web of Science has launched the web edition, as you could see today. And here are some other very important 10 points of our company's history. And what I want to mention is that in 1915, our previous parent company, which is Thomson Reuters, decided to sell our section, which is the IP and Science section, in the 1915. So in 1916, two private equity. One is the Onyx from Canada, which is a Fortune 500 company, and another company, Baron Asia, which headquarters is in Hong Kong, becomes our new owners. And in August 1916, Clarivate Analytics has launched. We have our new name, Clarivate Analytics. Actually, Clarivate is an artificial word, comes from clarify and innovation. So from the word you can see the aim of our new company is to help our customer in the whole innovation cycle. And actually in the last year, when Clarivate is running for the first year, we purchased another startup company called Pablos. And this one is for the reviewer activities. So many of the professors are doing review works. And on the Pablo platform, your review activity can be recorded. And the journals can also use this platform to select their reviewers. And this is for free for the scientists. So if you're interested, you can register on the platform and have your own account to record your review activities. And based on our long history and very professional data, information, and analytics and services, so we have a lot of partners and customers all over the world and all over the industries. So now we have 49 out of the top 50 pharmaceutical companies are using our Catalyst, the life science intelligence database. And for the Fortune 100 companies, more than half use our Mark Monitor for their brand protection. And 9 in 10 of the world's most valuable brands using our CompuMark. And also for our Web of Science, now we have over 1 billion cited references are accessible on our platform. So this is a very quick and short, brief introduction of our company, and hope you can know us more. So now let's come to our topic today. So we have many customers in China. So about 300 customers of our Web of Science platform, and over 200 customers for our Insights and ESI, which are the research performance evaluation database. So when we visit our customers in China, so when we have the discussion with the customers, so they usually raise their questions or their problems in their daily work, their workflow. So here we summarized some common questions that has been raised by our customers in China and in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, the Greater China areas. And I think many of them are your concerns also. So this slide shows the needs from the universities. So universities would like to show their strength in their annual reports when they report to the ministries. So they want to demonstrate their research achievements, and also they want to evaluate the institutional efficiency through the ROI, which is the return of investment. and obtain more funds from the country, from the ministry. And also universities want to compare their research performance with the competitors. They want to know, so our research output and the input, how about our research output and impact compared with other universities in our region or global, or in the global, in the worldwide scale. And also, universities would like to analyze their disciplinary performance and optimize their development strategy. So from the data analysis, they want to clarify in which area they have a stronger performance, and how about the development trend in these kind of areas. And also, they want to promote the disciplines that they have great potentials in the future. And also, universities want to encourage their collaborations with other countries, with other institutions. So, on the collaboration part, from the data, they can analyze their current international collaboration performance by the disciplinary scale. And also, they can, among all of the collaborators, they can identify which collaborator is more efficient and which collaboration results more research output and research impact. And finally, we know the human resources is a very strategic resource in the world competition. So it is also true for our universities. So most of universities want to identify their internal research talents and analyze the professors' research performance, and also support the young scientist who has very promising potentials. So our today's topics will be about these areas, and I will show you from the data how we can answer those kind of questions. So in the first part, I'm going to introduce some principles or some rules of our use of bibliometric data to analyze the research performance. So when we talk about research evaluations, there are actually two ways to evaluate the performance. One is the quantitative one, so-called the peer review. The other one is, one is the qualitative one, so-called peer review, and the other is the quantitative one, which is the use of data. So for the peer review and the quantitative citation analysis, both of the methods have their characteristics, have their advantages and shortcomings, of course. So for the peer review method, it is a small scale and ground-up view. So it is an absolute subjective cognition and judgment, and it might be affected by the previous work of an institution or an individual researcher. However, for the citation analysis, the quantitative one, it is a global scale, and it's from the top to down view, and it is used the weighted and the relative measures, and it can reveal more recent contributions. Although the citation analysis have a lot of advantages, we're not saying the peer review is not important. Actually, when we do the research evaluation, we want to use these two kind of methods in a combination. So we want to give our experts, our evaluators more data so that they can use the data to make a more accurate, more wise decision. So today, of course, I'm going to talk about the quantitative way to do the research evaluation, and specifically the citation analysis of the quantitative way. So for the scientific citation analysis, it's actually invented by Dr. Eugene Garfield. And in 1955, Dr. Eugene Garfield published a paper on science. And in this paper, he first claims that through the citation, an intellectual link is created between the research works. And some of you may see this figure yesterday, and this is actually the core value of our citation analysis. So from the high quality papers, so like this one I'm pointing, and this paper, so if we analyze the reference this paper has cited, so we can search more deeper. So this is through the cited reference. So if we analyze the papers who cites this original paper, we could search the latest results. And from the related records, and we could do a broader searching. So what is the related records? This figure can show you more clearly. So we have Article 1 and Article 2. So we could see that B and D are both cited by these two articles, which means Article 1 and Article 2 shares the reference. So in this kind of share, Article 1 and Article 2 are so-called related records. So from the last page, we could see that by searching the related records, we could have a broader horizon of our knowledge and information. So this is actually the core value of Web of Science as well as the citation analysis. So we are going to use the citation analysis to evaluate the researchers or institution's performance. What is the principles? What are the rules we need to follow? So we can summarize from this figure. So first one, well, citation analysis is more suitable for basic research. So what does that mean? So that means the research that the main output can be expressed in publications and citations. So we can use citation analysis to analyze this kind of research output. And for the applied sciences, where their main results might be expressed by IP, by patents. So definitely this kind of research is not suitable for the citation analysis. Also for some arts and humanity research, so their results can be expressed by a drama, so a novel, a book. So this kind of research actually is not suitable for citation analysis. And the second one is aggregates versus individual and long times versus short times. So when we do the statistical analysis, we all know that the larger our sample size, the more accurate our results. So that is also true for our citation analysis. When we do the citation analysis, if we have a very large pool of data, for example, we have over 1,000 or over 10,000 records for an institution, we can get more accurate results versus maybe we only have 10, 100 records for an institution. So the larger our sample size, the more accurate our results will be. And the fourth and fifth one will be relative versus absolute measures, and multiple measures versus single measures. So for these 2 points, I will mention in our later slides and show you the advantage of using relative indicators than the absolute indicators, as well as the advantage of using multiple angles of measure versus only a single angle of measures. So in the world, when we do the citation analysis, we need to follow this rule, compare like with like. So like these figures, we don't compare apples with oranges. We only compare apples with apples. So I'm going to show you more examples in my later presentations. So this figure actually shows the evolution of the assessment indicators worldwide. So initially, people are cares about the number of publications when they do the performance evaluation. So in China, it's back to 1997 when Nanjing University, they first introduced the SCI papers in their schools' evaluation systems. So the more you published on the journals which is indexed by SCI, Science Citation Index, so the more you can obtain, maybe in terms of money, maybe in terms of promotions. So that is the fact in China. So now in China, scientists have published a lot of papers, and in the SCI database, the research output of China now ranks the second, only followed USA, who is ranked the first. So people are asking, besides the number of publications, what can we use to evaluate the research performance? How about the citation, which reflects the impact of our research output? And when people use the citations, they also have questions. So is an article with 100 citations must be better with an article that only has 90 citations? So that is a question people ask. And then in the third stage, people have noticed that there are differences between disciplines and publication years. So they raise the question, how to compare two publications when the difference is huge in their absolute amount? So this is the third stage. And now, so worldwide, people tend to use a combination of a group of relative indicators together to evaluate our research performance completely and accurately. So now let's come to our questions that I raised initially, the needs from university. I'm going to show you a lot of examples to see how we can use data to actually solve our problems in our daily management work. So first questions we can answer is how to fully understand the research performance of our institution. So for example, let's take NUM for example. So for the research performance, we can first analyze the research output development trend to see how our university performed during the past years. So this figure shows the research output, which is the number of publications of NUM during the past 10 years. So be noted that here I only counted two document types, which is article and reviews. So we think these two types of document type can reflect our scientific research much better. So we could see from the year 2008 to last year, the overall research output of NUM is increasing, especially after the year 2011. The rate of the increasement was accelerated. So actually there are a lot of stories behind the data, behind the figure. So for example, when we visit a university in China, so we noticed that their university, after, I think if I'm correct, is after the year 2009, their increase, the output increase is very sharp. So we don't know the reason why. So we asked the teacher in their university. So they told me that, well, yes, it is that year our university has a policy to give out the professors who publish SCI articles money, award. So that's the reason why after that year, their university has a very sharp increase in the research output. And also when we visit university at Taiwan, and we notice for most of the Taiwan universities, their recent year research output has a trend of decline. So we also asked the teacher why. They say because their government just cut the research funding. So most of universities' research output from that year, the research output, the numbers of publications has declined. So this shows our university's performance in terms of the number of publications. So the audience here, I think you are more familiar with your university's situation. So you can tell why our university has a very sharp increase in this after the year 2011. And after analyzing our university's research output, the volumes of publications, we can also analyze our university's research impact. Here, I have an indicator which name is category normalized citation impact. So for this indicator, the global baseline, which is the global average, is 1. So our university is 0.72, so which is a little bit lower than the global baseline. So what is the meaning of this indicator? How it is calculated? I'm going to show you in the next slides. So why this indicator, I can tell you, it is a normalized indicator. So why we need to normalize the indicator? So let's say from these 3 aspects. First is the category. So as scientists, we all know the citation behavior is different from category to category. So for the life sciences categories, such as biology, such as chemistry, material sciences, the citation activity is very active. So after a paper is published, it can receive a lot of citation normally. However, for some other categories, such as mathematics, so for those kind of articles in mathematics, so there are not too many references on the back of the publication because there are a lot of formulas and calculations, so there are not so many references, which means a paper is very hard to be cited by other scientists in mathematics. So if we compare an article from biology to an article from mathematics in terms of the total citation, is it fair? No, of course not. So a second aspect we want to consider is time. We know the earlier an article is published, the more chance it can be cited or it can be read by other authors. So if we compare a paper that is published 10 years ago to a paper that is published last year in terms of total citation, is it fair? Is it accurate? Maybe it's also a no answer. The third aspect is the document type. So we know that for reviews in a research field, normally it receives more citation than a research article. So if we compare the citation of a review with the citation of an article in terms of the total citation, of course, it is not very accurate. So that's why we need an indicator to consider all these 3 aspects: category difference, publication time difference, and document type difference. So we need to have an indicator to consider these 3 aspects, and the indicator needs to be normalized. So here in our database, we have the indicator normalized, which is called category normalized citation impact. And we have the initials of each word and briefly call it CNCI. And how this indicator is calculated, let's see this example. So here we have an article, and we could see this is this paper. The document type of this paper is article, and the research area of this article is molecular biology and genetics, and it is published in the year 2007. So let's see. So we have the category expected citation, which means the average citation received for all articles published in molecular biology and genetics, in the year 2007. This is a typo, should be 2007. The average citation received in this year, this document type, this research area is 51.83. So let's see the real citation our article received. We could see from the time cited, it receives 555 times of citations. So we use this 555 divided by the average, 51.83. So we get the results, 10.71. So this is the CNCI of this article. So if CNCI is larger than 1, it means that the citation impact is higher than the global average. So if CNCI is smaller than 1, it means the citation impact is lower than the global average. Of course, if it equals 1, it is just equal the world average. So in our insights database, we calculate the CNCI for every single article. So each article has its own CNCI. So how we calculate our university's CNCI? We just add all the articles of our university, the CNCI of all the articles from our university, and take the average value to get our university's CNCI. So now you know that our CNCI is 0.72, and which is lower than the global average 1. So this is a normalized category, and actually this indicator is not invented by Clarivate Analytics. It is a very well accepted indicator in the bibliometric world, bibliometric scientists, and it is so-called the new Corona indicator. So now let's see another performance indicator of our university NUM, which is the percent of highly cited paper. So for highly cited paper, my colleague Deborah has introduced you the definition yesterday, so I'm going to repeat it again. So the highly cited paper means that a paper belongs to the top 1% of papers, of course in terms of citations, in a research field and published in a specific year. So the 1% is determined by the highly cited threshold and calculated for the research field in the specified year. So from the meaning, we could see that the world average for this indicator is 1%. So let's see our performance. So for NUM, the percent of highly cited paper, which means the number of highly cited paper divided by the total number of our university's publication. So we can see the percent of highly cited paper of our university is 0.46%, and lower than the world average. And the next indicator we could see for our university is the average percentile. So the global baseline is 56.19, and our university is 62.21. So this indicator is also a normalized indicator, and I'm going to show you the definition in a minute. So suppose we have only 100 papers in the field in the world. So we rank those 100 papers in terms of the citation from the highest to the lowest. So the paper ranks number 2, so we say the percentile of this paper is 2%. And the paper ranks the 5th, we say the percentile of this paper is 5%. And of course, the paper ranks the 100, the percentile of 100. So this indicator, we could see from the definition that the smaller the number, which means the better performance in the citation impact. So the smaller the ranking in terms of citation is higher. So this is our university's behavior, a little bit higher than the world average. So this is some normalized indicator that we use today and that are very popular in China and also worldwide. And also on our Insight platform, you can check the journals that our university published and compare those performance with the global average. So the quartile concept, my colleague Deborah also introduced yesterday. So it is decided by the impact factor of a journal. So in a subject category, we rank the journal's impact factor from the highest to the lowest. So the first quarter, we see the quantile is Q1, and 25% to 50% is the Q2, and 50 to 75% Q3, and 75 to 100% is Q4. So that's the definition of the quartile of the journal. So we could see this is the global baseline of the world average. So which means worldwidely, so 43% of the papers are published on Q1 journals. And 25% of the articles, the papers are published on Q2 journals, and etc. And this shows our performance. And we could see in the Q1 journal, the percentage performance of our university is a little bit lower than the world average. And also on the Q2 journals, our university is almost achieved the world average, which means that our publication has published in the Q1 and Q2 journal, which is very close to the world average performance. Okay, let's go to the second questions that you may be interested in. So what are the strong disciplines of my institution, and how can they be compared with our competitors, with other universities? So this figure shows the top 10 Web of Science category that NUM has published in over the last 10 years. So in terms of the number of publications, the Web of Science documents number, so we could see that NUM published the most in environmental sciences and related categories, so such as the ecology, environmental sciences, and plant sciences, zoology, and etc. And we could also see mathematics is another hot area in NUM. So in terms of publication numbers, mathematics ranks the 3rd in our university. And how about the research impact of the top 10 categories that we publish the most? So here we use the CNCI, the normalized indicator again. So we could see that for the top 10 was category that NUM published in. So we have 2 categories that the citation impact is over the world average, the global average, which is the ecology, CNCI equals 1.22, and environmental sciences, which CNCI is 1.05. Which means these 2 categories not only has a very large volume of publication, it also has very high research impact worldwide. So we could see the highly cited paper of our top 10 categories. So it is very obvious that the two categories which is very strong in our university, the percentage of highly cited paper is also very high. Both of them are over 2, which means it's 2 times of the world average. So that answered the question why our research impact in these 2 categories are high, because we have very high impact publications to support these 2 categories. So then I search from the database, so what are the high impact articles from these 2 categories? So first, let's see ecology. So for ecology, actually, we have 17 papers which CNCI are equal or larger than 1. And listed in the first one, it is a highly cited paper. So let's go back to see how many papers we have for ecology. We have 49. And 1/3 of the paper, the CNCI, the research, the impact is over the world average. And similarly, we check about the environmental sciences. So we have 45 publications in this area. So also around 1/3 of the publications, the CNCI is equal or larger than the world average, 1. And also listed in the first one, it is a highly cited paper, which CNCI is 13.21. So the research impact is over 13 times of the world average. So the high impact publications support our discipline, support our strong disciplines in our universities. So let's go to another topic in this question, which is the benchmark. So compare our research performance with our peer universities, with our peer research institutes. So here I take 3 universities for example, our University NAM and the Mongolia Academy of Sciences, and also the Health Science University of Mongolia. So first we can compare our research output. So we could see that the research output of them, which is the light yellow one, light orange, the middle, and the Mongolia Academy of Sciences, the dark yellow one, is much higher than that of the Health Sciences University of Mongolia. And we could also see or notice that, so initially, before the year 2011, so Mongolia Academy of Sciences in terms of research output is much higher than our university. And after the year 2011, the differences has become smaller and smaller. And even in the year 2015, our university's research output has been higher than that of Mongolia Academy of Sciences. And also in these recent 2 years, which are similar to each other. So we noted that for this comparison, I only counted 2 document types, articles and reviews. So that's why it might be a little bit different from the results you get from Web of Science if you count all types of documents. And we can also compare the research impact of these 3 institutions. And we could see that among the 3 institutions, Mongolia Academy of Sciences has the highest CNCI, which is 0.92, very close to the world average. And our university is 0.72, and Health Science University of Mongolia is 0.78. So our 2 universities are very similar to each other in terms of the research impact, in terms of the CNCI value. So let's come to the third question. So it's about the collaboration topics. So which countries or regions or institutions are we collaborating with and producing the most impactful results? So let's take a quick look on our institution's collaboration situation. So this listed the top 10 research categories of in terms of the publication numbers. So we showed this previously. So we could see all of the categories has a very high rate of international collaborations. So the highest even reach 100%. So for plot science, all of the papers are produced collaboratively. And see, this one shows the global baseline. So worldwide, the average collaboration rate is only 22%. So our institution has a very high rate of collaboration, which means we have a lot of partners, we have a lot of collaborators. So among all of the partners, collaborators, which are the best? So how can we make the decision with whom we can collaborate more in the future? So data can answer the questions. So let's first see our collaboration partners in terms of countries and regions. So we could see that, of course, Mongolia is our first partners, which means we collaborate most with the institutions or universities in Mongolia. It makes sense, right? And the second, our second large collaborator is USA. We have 110 papers that is collaborated with USA, with the United States, and also Russia, Japan, and Germany, South Korea also has a number of collaborations. And for China mainland, we have 42 papers that is collaborated with China mainland institutions. So that is in terms of the research output, the volume of the publications. Now let's see the research impact. So after our collaborations, after we publish paper together, so which one performs better in terms of research impact, in terms of citations? So here we use CNCI again to evaluate our collaborated countries and regions. So we could see that 5 among the top 10 collaboration countries or regions produce the research impact over the world average, larger than 1. So we could also see, even for the collaboration with Mongolia, the CNCI is 0.77. So remember, our overall CNCI is what? Is 0.72. So this means with collaboration, our institution's research impact is raised. So collaboration with Mongolian institution produce research publications CNCI 0.77. Our overall CNCI is 0.72. Collaboration raised our research impact. And also we could see for the collaboration with the United States is 1.2 CNCI, and also Germany 1.19, and China 1.04, very close to the world average, and United Kingdom 1.16. And this one, sharply, we could see the collaboration with Canada. The CNCI is very large, it's 2 times the world average, which means our collaboration with Canada produced the most impactful results, research results. So why? Let's do a deeper analysis. So this shows the research areas that NUM collaborated with Canada. So in which area we collaborate with Canada and produce the most impactful results. So we could see that is ecology in terms of both research publication volume and in terms of the CNCI. And remember that ecology is also the strongest subject category in our research university. And with the collaboration with Canada in these specific areas, so we produced very high impact results. The CNCI is over 5, which is 5 times the world average. And also forestry is over 1, larger than the world average. So we could also do some scatter plot to analyze the institutions that we collaborate with and pick the ones which is more efficient, which produce the more impactful results, and make the strategic decision in the future to maybe enhance our collaborations between the 2 institutions. So this scatter plot, you can see the x-axis is the number of publications, Web of Science documents, and the y-axis is the CNCI, the research impact. And the bubble size, the point radius, the bubble size is the time cited, the numbers of citations. So more in this corner means the higher the volume size, the higher the CNCI. So we could see this shows the top 10 institutions that NUM has collaborated over the past 10 years. So we could see that the Joint Institute for Nuclear Research in Russia produced the most collaborated publications here, listed here, the orange one. However, we could see the CNCI is lower than the global average, smaller than 1. And we could also see in this corner, the blue one, which is Columbia University from the United States, gives the highest CNCI, although the research output volume is not that high. And we could also see the collaboration publications with Seoul National University from Korea have been cited most, like here, the green one. So from this figure, so when our management team make future decisions in collaborations, we could consider how about collaborate more with the points listed here in this corner, like the Columbia University, like Princeton University. And also, if we want to continue the collaboration with these Russian institutions, how about to increase our impact in the future to make the collaboration more successful? So from this kind of analysis, we could select our most efficient partner, our most efficient collaborators. So let's come to the other questions. Maybe you are interested in who are the important scientists in my institution and how impactful are their research. So this topic is about the talents evaluation, the individual researcher evaluation. So I just listed the researcher performance in over the last 10 years from NUM, and we could see. Sorry, I couldn't pronounce this professor's name very correctly, but I'm sure you know him. Like this professor, so he produced the most publications in the last 10 years. And also we have other professors whose research impact is higher over the world average, such as the second one, Dr. Both give 21 articles, and CNCI is the highest, equal 1.45. And also this Professor Martin, and also this one, this author is also over the world average. So we have plenty of indicators, multiple indicators for each author. When we try to evaluate them, we can employ plenty of indicators. So this comes to the question, how can we identify high impact talents? So what kind of indicator are we going to use? So we should say publication is very important, but it is not the only indicator we are going to use in the evaluation process. So there are many other factors we need to consider when we do the individual researcher evaluation, such as the awards. If a scientist has been awarded many prizes nationally or worldwide, and also the funding, if the researcher can gain a lot of fundings from his own country or even from other countries and regions. And also if the researcher has given some keynote speech, very important speech at conferences in his own country or the international conferences. And if the professor or researchers are editors or chief editors or even reviewers of the journals worldwide or in his own country. And when we think about the publication, the articles, there are also many dimensions we can consider, such as the quantity, the volume, the number of papers, and the impact of the articles, and as well as where the articles are published, the journals the articles are published. So that's the answer or the example that when I try to explain the rule of citation analysis, I say we use the normalized indicator, we use the multiple indicators. So here, particularly when we do the researcher evaluations, we have to use multiple indicators and normalized indicators. So let's see some examples. So this figure shows the H index. So H index is invented by Dr. Hirsch in 2005 actually. So this is a very popular indicator because it can reflect both the research volume and the research impact. So H index, the definition of H index is here. So a scholar with an index of H has published H papers, each of which has been cited in other papers at least H times. So it is very difficult, I know. So let's see the example. So if H equals 4, a researcher has an H index of 4, it means that there are 4 papers that has at least been cited 4 times. So that's the definition of H index. So in many institutions or universities, people like this H index very much because it can reflect the number of papers as well as the citation of the papers. But is it that good? So let's see this example. Here I listed 3 scientists, Dr. Smith, Dr. Jones, and Dr. Zhang. So they have different numbers of publications. Smith has 7 publications, and Jones has 4, and Dr. Zhang has 10. And they have different citations, different times of citations. So Smith has 273, and Jones has 92, and Dr. Zhang has only 40 times of citations. But how about their H index? all of the H index of the 3 scientists are 4. So when we use H index to evaluate these 3 scientists, can we distinguish them from each other? No, we cannot, because they are the same number, same value. So how about use the citation index without normalization? So the citation impact means the average citation times, which is calculated by use the time cited divided by the number of publications. That is a calculation of citation impact. So here we have the difference. So we can see that Dr. Smith has a citation impact of 39, and Dr. Jones has 22, and Dr. Zhang, the citation impact is only 4. So it seems that citation impact can distinguish these 3 scientists, but we should think that we didn't consider their categories. So we don't know if these scientists come from the same area. So maybe Dr. Smith comes from biology and Dr. Zhang comes from mathematics. So that is also not an ideal indicator. So let's see the normalized indicator. So here I also listed 2 scientists. So we could see that researcher A and B, in terms of total publications, in terms of total citations, in terms of the citation impact, and H index are almost identical. So very similar to each other. So use the previous 4 indicators, we cannot judge their performance, who is better, who is not. So then we introduce the normalized indicators, which is the CNCI that we have introduced previously. So we could see that obviously researcher A is higher than researcher B in this indicator. And there's another normalized indicator which is called journal citation impact. So it is quite similar to CNCI. The only difference is that we compare the citation of the article with other articles that's published on the same journal. So if it is higher than 1, it means the citation impact of this article is higher than the other articles published on the same journal. So we could see that for JNCI, researcher A is also higher than researcher B. So this example shows that by using multiple indicators and normalized indicators, we can have a better way to evaluate the research performance of individual scientists and individual talents in our university. So here I'm going to give you a concrete example of individual researcher analysis. I'll take my advisor back at University of Michigan as an example. So he's Dr. Meyerhoff. And on the Insights platform, we can search the research output of the scientist. So we know that scientists, when they publish articles, they write their names and they might have different terms of written types. For example, he has the full name, Meyerhoff Mark E, and also he has the initials, Meyerhoff ME or Meyerhoff Mark. So we can try to add all possible types of names for the same scientist on our Insights database. So this is also true actually on our Web of Science. So when we do the author search, we could type all the possible types, terms of written on our Web of Science platform. And also we combine all of the results, different name terms together to get the total results of this research scientist. So we could see that this scientist published 330 articles, and the CNCI is 1.7. So on our database, we have plenty of indicators that we can use in our daily evaluations. So we have the productivity and the impact indicators, and we have indicators for normalization, normalized indicators, and we have the indicators for performance and influence, and we also have the collaboration indicators, the international collaboration, the industry collaboration, and etc. So when we do the researcher evaluation or even the institutional evaluation, we could employ all those indicators for our purpose. So let's see my advisor, Dr. Mark Meyerhoff's analysis. So we could see his trend of research output. This shows from the year 2018 to the year 2050 in each year, how many papers has he published. And also we could see the yearly trend of his research impact, CNCI. We could see, I think almost all of them are over the world average. And we can also see some very high value, and see like this in 1994, the CNCI is around 6. So if we find some special points, we can go back to our data and check why this results. And we finally found in this year, he published a proceeding paper, which is a very important one in the analysis of the gas sensor. So it receives a lot of citations, which results in a very high CNCI in this year. And also we can analyze the research impact of this scientist. That is, so many other scientists or research institutions has cited Dr. Meyerhoff's results. So when we analyze the citing articles, the citations, so we can get the results like where Dr. Meyerhoff's research has impacted all over the world. So we could see the citation distribution of this scientist. Of course, the most ones comes from his own institution, University of Michigan, and also we can see many other institutions in China also cites his work, like Chinese Academy of Sciences, Hunan University, and etc., Nanjing University, which means his research has impacted many other institutions all over the world. And we could also see his citation distribution in categories. So from this analysis, we could know, so for which other areas, so Dr. Meyerhoff's research has impacted. So besides his own major, like the analytical chemistry, which is the most one, we could also see many other categories. So you can see biophysics, biomedical engineering, biochemistry, and molecular biology, which means his research is a kind of interdisciplinary research. It is very helpful to researchers in other fields. So other field researchers can read his articles and get inspirations to do their own research. So this is a kind of citation analysis to see his impact in other areas, in other disciplines. So we can also analyze the journals where he published in his career life. So this listed the top 10 journals that he published, as well as the quartile of the article and the impact factor of the article. So in the last column is the impact factor percentile. So when we talk about the quartile, we only have 4, Q1 to Q4, and Q1 stands for the 0 to 25%. So it is a very broad range. However, using this impact percentile, we can have a much better understanding of the journal impact factor. So it starts from 100%, so it also can has like 95%, 93%. It's much it is a much thorough coverage of the impact factor distributions. So this can also be obtained in the JCR, Journal Citation Reports. This is a normalized indicator for journal evaluation. So also we could see the collaboration network analysis to see who are the collaborators of the scientist. So this is a network analysis for the researcher. So I think this is all that I'm going to cover today. And as a summary, I want to say this sentence. It is a sentence that I personally like very much. So strategic planning that our management team are doing every day is actually turning data into intelligence. By using the powerful data, it can actually provide us a lot of information. And with our wisdom, we can turn the information into intelligence. And when we make the decisions, it will be more precise and more effective, efficient. So we have a bunch of data sources that we can use and to support our decision-making process, such as the scientist personally and the publications, the patents, the research output, the development of disciplines, international collaborations, fundings, and global research fronts, which I will cover in the afternoon. So we have a lot of source of data that if we use them wisely, we can make better decisions for our universities and even for our countries. So lastly, this is a figure of our decision-making process. So here, when we do the strategic decision makings, using the data, we can analyze our research performance, and then we can identify our strengths, our weakness, our potentials, and our threats. And also on the road, we can understand our internal drivers better, and we can target approach to our fundings, and we cultivate our strategic collaborations, and finally, we articulate our significance to our ministry, and finally, we have our winning strategies. And that's all. Thank you very much. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
A rigorous and high standard the journal evaluation and the selections. Well, today I'm going to review the secret about the journal evaluation principle and the process. Okay, so let's go over a little bit yesterday's content about the Web of Science. So here you can see that the Web of Science is the world-leading citation databases which can provide the truly and trusted scientific information for all the users. As you can see that it is the largest citation index databases around the world, and it could help all the researchers to look back for 100 years the data retrospective data, and we could see that the whole globally representative research were all inside in the Web of Science, especially in the Web of Science core collection. So it can capture the citation across all this work, created unique network, over 1 billion connection between the ideas, the peoples, and the subjects and institutions. Okay, so why is Web of Science could provide all these leading informations, the whole high valuable informations? That is because the Web of Science has an objective editorial board. Here we could see that the Clarivate, our company, is not a commercial publisher. It is different from the Springer or elsewhere. That our editorial policy ensures that we are the publisher neutral. For example, our editors are not sit in the journal advisory boards. And also you can see that our editors are full-time employee of the Clarivate. And you can see that our editors, all the members in our editorial board are not published papers and not conflict of the interest. And you can see that our editorial team works full-time to evaluate all the journals and have no other conflicts or interest of the professional commitment. The fact is, the staff behind the editorial boards are over 150 years of experience those criteria. And you could see that all the stuff, and you can see that the journals behind indexed in the Web of Science have multiple languages, not only the Chinese, but also the Portuguese, Italian, Spanish, Romanian, French, and so on. That is all because we have the staff include influence in 12 languages. And also you can see the Web of Science has multidisciplinary journals, not only in medicine, but also life science, agriculture, biology, and environmental science, and so on. So those are support the Web of Science became the objective publisher in this world. And also you could see that Web of Science journal evaluation process has to follow 3 main objectives. And those are, the Web of Science has to evaluate and select the best scholarly content for all the coverage in Web of Science. And it is known as the worldwide sources for the top-tier scholarly research publishing the best international and regional journals. So we have to follow the order is that objective that we want to select the best resources to our users. And also we want to provide a worldwide publishing community with objective standard useful in building the world-class publications. And it is reflect the global body of the science and the scholarly activities. Here you can see that Web of Science journals selection process follow the 3 main purposes, and which are selectivity, objectivity, and transparency. Well, here you can see that we have a complex process that when we are doing the journal evaluation, it is no one factor is considered in isolation. We have to communicate, or we have to consider multiple indicators together when we are doing the evaluation. Each journal is evaluated based on the consistent, rigorous selection criteria, including the publishing standards, editorial content, citation performance, and collection enrichment. And those criteria I'm going to introduce after this slide. And also you can see that each journal is evaluated upon its own metrics and unbiased approach. So all the existing journal coverage continuously assessed in order to maintain the stable collection and provide new content. We want to give all the users the innovative informations, and we keep to follow this criteria on and on. And also you can see that the evaluation decisions are independent of commercial operations. So when we're facing the tons of the information, you could see that there are sea of the scholarly informations existing in the circle of the science. Web of Science followed the rigorous selection process to ensure that we could provide the most trusted sources of quality and impact. And as you can see that we only select 10 to 12% journals accepted for the flash indexes, which is the core of the science, and which including the SCI, SSCI, and AHCI. And also you can see that 60% of the journals are accepted for the ESCI, which is called the Emerging Source Citation Index. It is also can be found in the Web of Science platform. Here you can see the Web of Science core collection not only containing about SCI, SSCI, AHCI, it is also visible about the Emerging Source Citation Index. That is what we call the ESCI. It's established since 2015. While we create this citation index is because we want to found some new addition about Web of Science, which the ESCI is represent to deepen and broad our coverage of regional content, as well as identify some new and existing journals that do not meet our strict criteria. Maybe it's not interned directly to the SCI or SSCI, but maybe we can put all them into the ESCI first. Then we keep on looking at the performance of these journals. So ESCI is supposed to make searchable, discoverable, and citable the content important to not only the researchers, but also founder and the evaluators. And so ESCI could be empowered our users to see the largest collection of the Web of Science, and it is also peer-reviewed scholarly literature is possible. Here you can see that there are 4 basic criteria of journal selection and evaluation in ESCI, and there are the evidence of peer-reviewed and adherence to ethical publishing practices, and title, abstract keywords in English and timelesses, and current year's content available online. There are 4 basic criteria, and I'm going to introduce them one by one. Here you can see, if the journal could meet the rules of the, here there are 2 phrases during the ESCI journals evaluation process. The phase 1 is about focusing in the ESCI. If the journal could meet the rules of the ESCI, it could be intern accelerated evaluation for the ESCI. But it have to follow some 4 main rules in the ESCI evaluation, which is the peer review, ethical publishing practice, the high interest to a scholarly community. The community means the scholar, researchers, funding bodies, research administrators. And also it had to follow the ability to meet our technical requirements. If the journal can satisfy all these rules about the ESCI, then we could consider to do the evaluation into the phase 2, which is that we could keep going to do the evaluation about consider whether it could enter to the SCI, SSCI, and AHCI. And as you can see that this is full assessment for those 3 citation index databases, and it's more stricter than ESCI. They have to follow a lot of rules, like whether they have globally accepted editorial conventions, and whether it have the international EAB, the editorial advisory board, or whether it could attracted the audience from globally. And also you can see that there are whether it could provide a significant global impact relative to its field. We'll do the citation analysis, and also we watch all the ranking it performed in the relevant category in phase 2. So we did a lot of work when we are considered whether this journal could be entered or accepted by SCIE or SSCI. So this is the whole process about the journal to enter the evaluation process. Once a journal submit by the editors, well, we will doing the phase one. We're doing the phase one and to do the evaluation, to do the ESCI journal evaluation and selections. If the journal satisfied all the rules, and there's two results, which is the accept or the reject. If they reject, well, it can do. They have to do a lot of preparation work again and do the submission. Then after that, well, if it meets all the rules, it will be accepted by ESCI, and then we will add this journal into the ESCI list, and also the editors from Clarivate will monitor this journal's performance after that. And also, we will consider to evaluate this journal for other additional products. Like you may know that Web of Science platform not only contained the Web of Science core collection, right? They also have contained the from the biology or medical databases biosis preview. Maybe some of the journals could also addition to intern to those databases. So we evaluate those journals and maybe consider to add these journals into other databases and do this work. Also, we have to, we also continuous curation to this journal and consider and also watch it, whether it could be added into this SCI and SSCI. If the journal has high performance or it has high influence in this relevant category, we maybe consider to add this journal directly to the SCI, SSCI, and I think it has a fast way to just add this journal directly to the Web of Science core collections. And if you want to know more information about how to submit journals, you could just follow this link below and check more information here. Okay, so I'm going to introduce comprehensively for those journal selection criteria. There are main 4 criteria: journal publishing standards, editorial content, international diversity, and citation analysis. For Clarivate editorial board, we'll do those 4 main works for each journals. Okay, so let's look at one by one. In the journal publishing standard, the first one, that the journal have to follow the timelines of the publications. For example, let's see, if a journal is bi-monthly, it is in strict accordance with the schedule and it has to be published every 2 months. And after the journal after this journal submission to the Clarivate, our editors our editors must receive 3 current issues on time in subsequent begin the evaluation. For example, if the journal editors submit their journals after May, they have to give us all the information on current issues of the July, September, and November's the current issues to give us, and that we could do the evaluations. So the content is robust within the sufficient manuscript in the pipelines. And then all the journals have to follow the international editorial conventions. Here, for example, let's see, all the journals have to give the comprehensive bibliographies information, like the journal's titles. It have to be the informative, and also all the articles in these journals has to be the fully descriptive article titles and abstracts. For example, let's say if the journal's talking about the Mongolia studies, it have to be all the articles just around these topics or around these scales. So this is very clearly to present all the user or audience that what is these journals want to learn or want to pay attention to. And also all the full dress of the authors that have to be completely every authors. Also, it's very important thing is that all the articles have to provide complete bibliography information for all the cited references in English. It is important. I know that maybe some of the articles may have some cited references in other languages, maybe in Chinese or in Japanese or South Koreans, but it have to be provide also all the cited references in English too. So they have to be, this is very important for our editorial board to evaluate the one journal. And it is better to provide the funding sources and whatever is possible for one specific article. So this is have to follow the international editorial conventions. And next, we are going to talk about some languages bibliography information. Just like I said, that all the literatures that need to provide the bibliographies information in English, especially in article titles, author names and addresses, cited references, and abstract and keywords. Also, there's a lot of journals maybe in other languages, but all the bibliography information that is published, all the articles must in English version. So they have to provide two versions about the bibliography information. So no matter which language is the article used. See, so this article is just language in Chinese, but it has also provided all the bibliography information in English. Okay, so next but not least, in journal publishing standard is that the peer review part. We believe that here you can see there are three different kind of the peer review process, and it is complicated to explain what is each step in it, but you could see that all of them will have the reviewers for manuscripts, right? They all have the comprehensive peer review system for us to understand that the reviewers are play an important in the whole peer review process. So if the journal have the comprehensive peer review system, it is enough strength for us to understand that this journal has to be accepted by ESCI or SSCI or SSCI. And next is about the editorial content. We will consider whether these journals are performing well. Well, we have to compare with all the journals that existing in the similar scope or in the similar subject areas. We will consider that how does this journal compare with the cover journal of similar scope, whether this journal is this the subject already well covered, are there any white space for this journal to publish more innovative research works? So we have to consider those questions. And also, will this journal will provide enrich Web of Science with the novel content is take our in consideration. So all these questions we are followed is not static, and the coverage of Web of Science is not static. For example, recently SSCI just added a new subject area. It's about green resources and energy. This is the whole brand new subject area. So based on those criteria, we also considered that whether this journal could publish more innovative research work, or whether it has some the whole brand new or the emerging new subjects or directions about the research. Okay, and then we move to the international diversity. it is very interesting that once the journal submitted to Clarivate, our editors board will consider the journal positioning, whether this journal is targeted to the international or the regional audience. So we have two different kinds of the positioning of one specific journal. And also for the international positioning journals, we will consider whether it can represent, whether it could attract more audience globally, or whether it has the EAB, the Editorial Advisory Board around the world. Is this internationally editorial board? And also we will consider that the positioning. Here I would like to set two examples to explain the international and regional journals. Here you can see that this journal is called Neurological Research. Well, when we use Web of Science to analyze the diversity, the international diversity of this journal, and we analyze this country and territories about the citing articles of the whole, about the whole papers published in this journal. And as you can see, there are 60 countries and territories researchers have cited these papers around the world. Okay, and so that means this journal was targeting the internationally audience, or they want to attract more researchers from international around the world to submit their articles to these journals. And compare with this one, let's see, this is called the Asian Pacific Journal of Allergy and Immunology. So as the name you can see, this is basis focused on the Asian Pacific. And we also do the analysis in Web of Science about this journal and see the country and territories published in this journal, and you could see that all the countries, there are less countries than the previous one, right? This is first character, and also you could focus on those countries that are Thailand, Taiwan, India, Japan, Singapore. So as you could see that those countries are all focused on the Asia. So this is the different positioning of these two different kind of the journal. So this is more, this is the obvious, more regional focus journal. So for the regional journals, it have to follow two important points to measure in terms of content specialty. That will it enrich the coverage of one specific subject, and will it provide specific regional perspective. So regional perspective is more important for the regional journals. That is what we considered about this journal. And also, we'll see whether it published excellent research targeted at regional rather than the international audience. So the same example, as I said, if there's a journal called Mongolia-R&D citation analysis, no matter which kind of the journal submit to the Clarivate, we have all do the citation analysis to determine the importance and influence journal in the surrounding literature of the subject. Well, maybe there are two different kinds of the journal. Maybe there's new established journals and submit to us, and we have to evaluate its performance, research performance, and then we use citations maybe in the existing research work in the relevant subject areas, and we do the authors and editors' previous work, and to see whether its performance well in this subject area. And for those mature journals, it has been existing for a long time, and we estimate the impact factor in JCR. So we estimate the impact factor of this journal and see how the journal compared to other journals that in this field. Also, we do this work. Maybe you are very interesting about how to estimate the impact factors. Well, here you could see that we also could use Web of Science to calculate or estimate some of the journals that is not accepted by SCI or SSCI right now, but we could use the cited references research to do this work. we put the journal's name in here and cited and do the cited work search, and we found how many papers in Web of Science have cited this journal. And we found there are 8,000 results. That means this journal has 8,000 citations. Okay? So this is the citations about this journal. Although it is not indexed in Web of Science right now, but we can use this way to help us understand whether this journal are cited by all the Web of Science papers. So we could use this to calculate some similar like impact factors about these papers, about these journals. And for how to impact factors calculate, I will use this picture to explain. Well, for now we have the 2016 impact factors, and it was published in 2017 June, and all the papers are the previous 2 years of 2016. So as you can see that we calculate all the papers of this journal in the past 2 years, which is 2014 and 2015. And we calculate not the publications. We also do calculate all the citations that those papers published in 2014 and 2015 that cite in 2016. So all the source papers are published in the 2016. So the impact factors of 2016 is calculate that all the citations in 2016 divided by all the papers that published in 2014 and 15. Is that clear to you? I'm going to pause a little bit here so you could understand it, this formula. So all the papers we watched is published in 2014 and 15. And we calculate all those papers citation in 2016. Okay? Good. So as you can see that all impact factors calculation is mostly based on the citations, right? We calculate those papers that cite in 2016. The all citation number is very important. But maybe some of you may think that the citation also including the self-citations, right? It is not cited only by others, maybe it's also by the journal itself. So we also take this element into consideration that if the journal has a lot of self-citations, we will be considered to subject this subject of this journal. For example, like this one, the Journal Academy of Management Review. Well, the total citation here is more than 1,600 times. But let's say his self-cite only have 300 times. So when we minus the 300 times, the impact factor is not changed, obviously, right? It's not a huge change for this journal's impact factor. Compared with this one, let's take a look another one. This is another journal, and we could see that they have total sites 1,000, more than 1,000, and the self-cite is also 66% of the citations are all from the self-cites. That is not performed really well for a journal, and maybe suppress. So we will be suppress this journal from JCR. Maybe this journal will keep going on those, and maybe we'll consider to drop this journal. So it is not performed well for us at SEED. And this is another two examples that we will explain why is the journal will be accepted. And also you can see this is one of the journal and cited by other journals. It is the wide range about citations from other journals. And compare with this one, let's take a look at the next one. You can see some journals that we will be considered to rejected is cited only the range is very small. It's only little journals by others. Okay, so what is the limitation about the self-citations? That here we give you some insights is about most of journals have self-citation rates of less than or equal to 15%. So 15% is the, is the rates of the whole journals in Web of Science. So if you have higher than this rate, maybe it will be considered to drop by SCI, even ESCI. So excessive self-citation weakness is integrity of the journal's impact factors. That is very obviously, right? So for researchers or for editors, maybe they will consider how to submit our journal to the Web of Science, that you could do some pre-work about doing this. Maybe you could check the existing coverage first and to see whether your journal can have the range of the research range has been covered by existing journals. You could check it first, and to ensure that the journal meets the basic selection criteria outlined the selection essay. So as I said, introduced in the previous slide, that there are 4 main criteria that you could make sure that whether this journal could satisfy those rules. And also you could contact the publisher relations and fill out the journal submission form with all required information. You could follow this link below here and to get more information. And also you can get more information about who can submit the journal for evaluation. For us, the editors and the publishers can submit the journals to the Clarivate. And we also receive the recommendations from the academic community and our customers, our users. So here, also I have to repeat again, all the journals have evaluation have to follow our criteria of those 4 main parts. And if some of our institutions have one journal and want to improve their research influence, well, the Clarivate also possesses some service which is called WOSAC, Web of Science Author Connect. Well, we can use Web of Science database to help you target the relevant users that may relevant to your journals of subject areas, and we could send the email to them and let them to pay attention to these journals. So that could be help the journals to increase the high influence when they are doing the development. And also they have to, maybe some of the journals have to establish the peer review systems. We also have to service to help to increase the recognition for the reviewers' work. Here I would like to recommend another tool which is called Problems, and it can help all the researchers or the reviewers to increase the recognition of their works. Maybe some of the professors have reviewed a lot of papers, articles for some journals, but it was not recorded by any of the database or any other systems. But Problems is the one, especially for all the reviewers, that you could establish your own profile in here, and you could it could recorded all the reviewers' work in these pages, in these systems, so that it could help to increase the recognition of the reviewers. So this is all the journal selection and the evaluations introduction. Hope you can understand it. Okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, and let's start our session in the afternoon. And it's me again, Lynn from Clarivate Analytics. And in the afternoon, I'm going to use the following maybe an hour and a half to introduce how to use the data and analytics to enhance the efficiency of research funding applications. So, well, before our topics today, let's think about the typical life of scholars, of professors in the university, or research scientists in the research institutions. So mainly, the works of a scholar, a professor, can be summarized as this figure. So professors need to do teaching works at universities. So for teaching, of course, they need to prepare materials. They need to give lectures to undergraduate students or graduate students. And they need to give tests and quizzes to their students and grade those tests. And besides teaching, of course, a professor or a researcher need to do research, which is very important for them. And for research, they need to first have research ideas and do experiments for natural sciences or do some social surveys for social sciences to realize their ideas in the mind. And finally, they will publish what they have achieved. And also attending academic conferences is also very important for scholars. So at the conferences, the scholars can social with other colleagues or other professors from other universities. And also they can find collaboration opportunities with other professors. And also they give presentations at the conferences to show their achievement, their research results. And one thing I didn't mention is the grant application, which is also very important for a scholar, because without funding, you don't have support. You don't have the money. You don't have the financial support to conduct whatever you think about, your ideas, your experiments. So for the grants, so therefore, today, I'm going to focus on this part of the typical life of a scholar. And also for grants application of grants. So one scholar must understand the funding policies and also the trend of a funding agency. So the policy and trend might be varied for different countries and even for different funding bodies. So I want to cover these two aspects. The aspects today I want to be focused is the topics. So when we apply for fundings, we need to choose a topic to attract the interest from the funding assigner. So how can we choose a proper topics when we apply fundings? That is the topic I would like to cover for today's presentation. So this is the agenda for today's presentation. So first, we want to discuss about how to decide a research topic by using the ESI, Essential Science Indicators. And in the second part, I'm going to talk about the discovery and interpretation of the research fronts in the ESI. And finally, the third part is the forecasting funding directions by using the research fronts. So for ESI, so this is a database, and it is the short form for Essential Science Indicators. So this is a database and a tool for quantitative analysis on the research performance. And in the morning, I have actually talked about this a little bit. So the data for the ESI database is actually based on the rolling data of Web of Science core collection, specifically the SCI and SSCI. And as I mentioned in the morning, that there are 22 categories are assigned in ESI, and one journal can only be assigned to one single ESI categories. And in ESI, we have a lot of useful information. For example, we have rankings of institutions in terms of the total citation that the institution received. And we also have the rankings of countries or regions as well as the journals. So ESI is very popular in China mainland as well as in other places all around the world. Actually, in China, ESI has been adopted into the assessment criteria of the Chinese National Academy Academic Assessment Program. And this assessment program is held nationwide every other 4 years. So today, I'm not going to talk about the ranking functions of ESI, but I'm going to focus on the other 3 very important information source from ESI, which is the highly cited paper, hot paper, and research front. So I have talked about a little bit about the highly cited paper. So the definition, I think the audience here might be very familiar with. And the highly cited paper belong to the top 1% of papers in terms of citation in the research field published in a specific year. And the 1% is determined by the highly cited threshold calculated for the research field in the specified year. And this sentence in gray shows the definition of a hot paper. So we could see that the hot paper means a paper that published in the past 2 years, and that received a number of citations in the most recent 2 months. That period that placed the paper in the top 0.1% of papers in the same field. So we could see from the definition that the hot paper is the paper that attracts very much attention most recently. So that is the hot paper. So from the definition, if we focused on the highly cited paper, we could find the papers those are very impactful all around the world. And if we rate the hot papers, we're going to find the paper that are recently very hot as the meaning as what we call hot paper, which is very hot, which is draws a lot of attention from the academic community. And in the ESI, we also have the research fronts. So this is how the research fronts look like. So the research front used co-citation analysis on the highly cited paper, and the frequently appeared title word formed the research front, as you can see here. Of course, I will cover the real meaning and how to generate research fronts later. And so for the research front, it has formed by a group of highly cited paper. So we could see here, that is the size of research front, meaning how many highly cited paper is contained in the research front. And we can click this blue column to see the 50 highly cited paper that is contained in this research front. And it also has the mean years, which is the average publication years of this 50 highly cited paper. So for the mean year, the closer it is to the current year, which means this research front is newer. So now let's go to details on the discovery and interpretation of research front. So research front is actually invented by Dr. Henry Small in the last century. In last century, 1970s, Dr. Henry Small proposed the methodology of co-citation. The co-citation is a new type of bibliometric coupling, and also the co-citation analysis will provide us a new perspective in search of the structure of science. So this figure can show the definition of research front more clearly. So let's see this figure. So we have 2 articles, A and B. So both of the article A and B are cited by another article P. So why they are co-cited? So of course, they will have some similarities in the research topics or research area or research directions. That's why both A and B appear as reference in the article P. So if we have a group of papers, A, B, C, D, a group of papers which are co-cited very frequently by another group of papers. That means this group of papers have similarities in their themes, in their research topics. That's why they are co-cited by another group of papers. So based on these ideas, we will cluster this group of papers A, B, C as a research front. But research front is a little bit special. The articles that we use for clustering is not common papers. They are all highly cited papers, so whose citation ranks top 1% in the same field and same years. So this shows the methodology of the research fronts in the ESI database. So first of all, we will identify the top 1% of the most cited papers, highly cited papers. So we use these highly cited papers as candidates for core papers. And then they were candidates for the research fronts. After that, we will run algorithm to identify millions of pairs of co-cited papers. And in the final step, we will use single linkage clustering method to aggregate the co-cited pairs into clusters. So this shows the last two steps. So A and B is co-cited pair 1, and B and C is co-cited pair 2. So by using the single linkage clustering, we will cluster A, B, C as a group of research friends. So that's the way we generate research friends. So don't forget, A, B, and C are highly cited papers. So our research friend, based on the clustering of those highly cited papers, are the very impactful results, very impactful research topics all around the world. So we have about 10,000 research friends at ESI. So what can we do using ESI research friends to facilitate our daily research? So we have two methods to use the research front, and then on the left column there are filters. So we can choose research field or research fronts, the two ways to find the research front. For example, if we choose research field, we can find research front in the 22 categories in the ESI database. So for example, we choose chemistry, and then it will list all research fronts from chemistry. And also, we can choose the ideas or the research topics that we are pursuing or we are interested, so that we can type the keywords in the filter field. While we are typing, the system will automatically appear the topics that contains the word that we are typing, so that it will list the research fronts that we are interested in and that are relevant to our own research. And as I have mentioned, so if we click this blue column, we can actually read the 6 highly cited papers that contained in this research fronts to see what these research fronts are actually talking about. So after click, it will list all the 6 papers. And when we can add another click on the title of this article, it will link automatically to the Web of Science platform, and we can get more details about this paper, and we know the title, and we can read the abstract, and we know the citation networks of this article. So actually, we can do a lot of work on this research front tool. So for example, we just test organic chemistry, so that the research fronts related to organic chemistry are listed. as here. So we can see there are three groups of research fronts. So the blue one listed here are the luminescent organic material related to the luminescent organic material. And the green one are related to organic solar cells. And how about the gray one? The gray one is actually about the carbon-hydrogen activation, which is also very popular in the organic chemistry recently. So that's how we use the research front to facilitate our daily research work. So besides the research fronts in our ESI database, we also co-release a white paper with Chinese Academy of Sciences, as Deborah has mentioned yesterday. So we have a report released annually, and for this report, the data is based on the ESI research front, and also the professionals from Chinese Academy of Sciences will put their insights to interpret these research fronts in 10 areas. So every year we will hold a seminar together with Chinese Academy of Sciences. We will invite scientists from China and from other areas to attend this symposium to discuss about the research topics in this report. And I have listed the links to download last year's research front in English version. So if you are interested, please download this free reports for your reference. And this is actually last year's symposium picture. And last year, we have selected 100 hot research fronts and 43 emerging research fronts based on our ESI platform. And I have talked about a lot of research fronts. Then how about our Mongolia scientists perform in the global research fronts? And here I listed 4 research fronts that Mongolia scientists participated in. And this is the name, actually the keywords from the titles of the highly cited paper and the research front's name. And we could see from the ESI categories, and our scientists participate not only in the environment ecology areas, we also participate in the clinical medicine part as well as physics. And who are the scientists? So here I listed the Mongolia scientists who have the core paper, the highly cited papers in those 5 research fronts. And we could see that 2 research fronts has our National University of Mongolia researchers as participants. Okay, let's go to the third part, which is forecasting the funding directions by research fronts. Here I listed some application guide for organic chemistry projects of the National Natural Science Foundation of China from the year 2012 to the year 2016. So if you are a researcher in organic chemistry, you could see that the funding guide has moved from the carbon-carbon coupling reaction to the carbon-hydrogen bond activation to the inert chemical bond activation. And what is the inert chemical bond activation? That is the carbon-hydrogen activation that I have talked about previously in the ESI research fronts organic chemistry part. So that means using our ESI research fronts can forecast the popular funding areas by the government fundings. So I can tell you that for the research front report, the NSFC, which is the National Natural Science Foundation of China, so they will review it yearly. Actually, they will rate that report yearly, and to some degree may take that as a reference when they want to give fundings to different areas of the scientist applications. So now let's go into more details how to use the Web of Science as well as the ESI to help our researchers, our scientists, to the application of the fundings. So when you want to apply fundings in a specific areas, first of all, you need to understand the research background and the current status of these specific areas. So we will also take this carbon-hydrogen bond activation as our examples. So here is a case study in the carbon-hydrogen activations. So first of all, let's review a little bit of what we have covered yesterday. So we start from the searching on the Web of Science of this topic, carbon-hydrogen bond activation. So we use the OR and the asterisks to make a searching string, a searching strategy in the Web of Science. The keywords and topics, and then we finish our search. And now we have over 10,000 articles related to the carbon-hydrogen bond activation. So yesterday we mentioned that we can have different sequence to select the article that we want to rate first. And for example, we can rank them from the highest citation to the lowest to find the most impactful articles to rate first. And of course, we have other methods to sort our results, such as the recently added, the usage count, and others. So we can pick our own strategies to choose which article we want to rate first. And also we have this very powerful analyze results function. So we can analyze those over 10,000 articles to see to get more information on them. For example, we have 17 fields that we can choose to analyze our results. For example, we can first analyze the main funding agencies of this area so that we know which funding agency tend to give funds on this carbon-hydrogen bond activation research. So for example, this lists the top 20 funding agencies. So we could see that the one I marked as red are all from China. That means many Chinese funding agencies want to give money to the research on the carbon-hydrogen bond activation, and which means Chinese government or Chinese funding agencies are very interested in these areas. And also we can filter different document types, as Deborah just mentioned yesterday. So we could find the reviews in this over 10,000 articles, because reviews are usually the very important articles that we need to rate before we do the further research. And we click reviews, and then we can view the results we selected. So now we have the 923 reviews in the carbon-nitrogen activation areas. And also we can analyze, so which journals are this topic mainly published. So by using the analyze the results function, we could find, so which journal tend to more welcome these topics, more they want to accept it. They want to accept more articles from these research areas. So we could see the top 3 journals are Organometallics and Wang, which is a German, very prestigious German chemistry journals. and also the JACS, which is also prestigious journals in chemistry. And also similarly, we can find the impact factor of those journals from Web of Science. So we know that Nature and Science are very prestigious journals no matter in which disciplines. So we can also filter the journals to Nature and Science to see what kind of carbon-hydrogen activation articles are published on those prestigious journals. So from those articles, we could read those journals to see what are they talking about, what are their research ideas, and what are their research results, and give us some inspirations to our own research. This is the research background of the carbon-hydrogen bond activation. And how about the current research status? This is also very important. We can also use Web of Science to tell us the current status of these research topics. So in the future, in the refined result column, we can choose the most recent publications, for example, the publications in recent 2 years, to see what those papers are talking about. And then after filtering, we have over 2,000 papers that are published in the most recent 2 years, which are talking about the carbon-hydrogen activation. And we can also analyze where those papers are published. I mean, in the most recent years, where the topics of CH activation are published. So we can further refine the sources of our results. So we find different results than the overall results. So, which means in recent years, the papers are more likely to be published in Angwan, in Organic Letters, in the European Journals of Organic Chemistry. So which is different in the overall field. The previous 3 journals I introduced, which means maybe this area, the publication behavior of this topic has changed a little bit recently. So these 4 journals tend to accept more top research articles about the CH activation in recent 2 years. So that is also very important for the scientists to submit their manuscript. So of course, we can analyze the main players in these research topics, like what are the organizations what are the main organizations that published in the carbon-hydrogen bond activation areas. So we can see the one I labeled in red are all from China mainland, which means Chinese organizations pay a lot of attention on these topics. And by doing this kind of analysis, if you are a scientist in these areas, you may find your collaborators from those institutions. And of course, we are very interested in the key players, the leading scientists in these research topics. So by doing the author analysis, we can find the scientists that published a lot of results in the carbon-hydrogen activations. So for example, we have Professor Yu from Scripps Research Institution, who has the most publication in this research area. And we also have this professor from UC Berkeley, who also has a lot of research output in this area. And of course, we can do the country and region analysis. And we can do the conferences analysis to see which conference are about these research topics. So by doing this kind of analysis, so we can pick the conference that are suitable to us to attend if you are a research scientist in the carbon-hydrogen bond activation research topics. And also, we can further analyze these topics in the research areas. So by doing the analysis, we could see it's not only related to chemistry, although chemistry is the most. We see some other research areas is also covered by the carbon-hydrogen bond activation. For example, we have biochemistry and molecular biology, we have energy and fuels, we have computer sciences. So this, after reading those papers in these areas, it might give us some inspiration on doing the interdisciplinary research. If we are a researcher in these areas, we can also consider to do some interdisciplinary research by maybe by collaborating with other scientists from those fields. So after we have a basic idea on the research background as well as the current status of this carbon-hydrogen activation research topics, so our next step is to find our research ideas and set our own research plans. So how to set our research ideas and research plans? So we can, similarly, we can start from the Web of Science. So we can do the search, and then I have mentioned about the highly cited papers, which are very impactful papers in the area. So we can refine our results to the highly cited paper to see what are the highly cited papers are talking about, to see their research ideas. And Deborah has mentioned that Web of Science is a citation database. We don't offer the full text. However, we have a new function of the open access filter. So by using this filter, we can easily filter the articles that are open access, that you can download the full text very easily. So we could see, if we refine the results, we could see there are about 150 papers, 150 highly cited papers in this carbon-hydrogen activation areas that we can read the full text very easily. So if you see the lock, it is unlocked lock, the green lock. So if you click this button, you can download the full text of this article. And actually, if we calculate the numbers, we could see that there are about 20% of highly cited papers in carbon-hydrogen activation area are available in the terms of full text. And you can read it without purchasing the relative journals. And for our all Web of Science platform, about 41% of all of the highly cited papers are available open access, which means about 40% of the highly cited paper, you can read them directly from the Web of Science platform, and it will save you some financial money to purchase the journals, and you can have the very trusted and peer-reviewed results of the full text. So for the refine of the highly cited paper, we can further refine the areas, regions to the results. For example, we can refine the results, the country to China mainland, to see what are the scientists in China mainland talk about in this carbon-hydrogen activations. So to see how our colleagues in China mainland are conducting this type of research in this area. And similarly, besides the highly cited paper, we can also refine our results to the hot papers. Hot paper, if you remember the definition, are the papers that attract a lot of attention most recently. In most recent 2 months, it received a citation, ranks them to the 0.1% all around the world. So we can also see in the most recent times what are the scientists cares about in this carbon-hydrogen activation areas. So after reading all the highly cited paper, the hot paper, we can make summary of those papers to see what they are talking about, what are their themes. For example, if we make a summary on this carbon-hydrogen bond activation, we could see those highly cited paper and hot papers are mainly covers the 4 areas, sub-areas, such as the reaction types, the substrate they employed in the experiment, the metal catalyst they used in the experiment, the reaction conditions such as the temperatures, the pressures they used when they do the experiment, and also the research content. So by doing this kind of summary, it gives you some inspirations for your own research, and you might find some innovation points that you can use for your future research and for this time your funding applications. So the next part is the previous research and achievement. You know, when we apply for fundings, this is also very important part. You have to list what you have done, what's your previous achievements to the funding agencies, to showcase your achievements, to show your results. So how to find your previous achievements, your previous results? Web of Science can also offer you a lot of help. So for example, we just search a research results from Dr. Shi Zhangjie, who is a very prestigious researcher from Peking University. So we find he has published over 300 papers here. And then we refine the results to our topics, carbon-hydrogen activation. We refine the result further. So we find this professor published 41 papers in the carbon-hydrogen activation areas. And then we could further analyze the results of this scientist. For example, we can see the previous research funding he has received. And we can see here it's NSFC and the National Science Foundation of China. We also find some Ministry of Science and Technology of China. So we can see this scientist has received a lot of research fundings from very important agencies in China. And also, we can see his previous funded projects' achievements. Because when you apply for, or when you get a research fundings, usually there will be a grant number assigned to your projects. So by doing the result analysis based on the grant numbers, we could see under each project how many papers has he published. So that is a very good summary of his previous funded projects' achievements. So just by doing the grant numbers filter, you can have the results. And of course, we can list what journals I have published on. So for this scientist, we can see that he published 13 articles on Angwan, which is a very prestigious journal in chemistry, and also the Chemical Communications, Chemistry A European Journal. So we can also list the impact factor as well as the quartile of those journals that he has published in the past years to show his previous achievements. And also, of course, highly cited paper is a very good way to show his impact in his research field. We can see this professor published 13 highly cited papers in his previous work. So all of this he can write in the application report to show to the funding agency what he has done in the past and what he has achieved. So finally, there's a summary of the research funding application presentation. So for the funding applications, I think there are 3 steps we can do, or we can use data to facilitate our application. First, track very hot topics and forecast funding directions. So using the Web of Science and the ESI research front, we can analyze the keywords and obtain the latest research fundings and analyze the trend of these research topics. And secondly, when we do the funding applications, it's very important to understand the research background and to discover the innovative ideas. And in this part, we have to make research plans and figure out the main problems we need to solve in these areas. So we can use Web of Science to obtain some solutions to our problems, and we can also use ESI to get new ideas, to use the ESI research front to get new ideas and new methods to inspire our work. And thirdly, we can, when we do the funding applications, we need to summarize our previous achievements. And in this step, we can also use Web of Science and ESI to get our previous funding informations, to get our previous research output, and our publication journals, and etc. And I think with the help of Web of Science, it can help us to apply the fundings more easily and more effectively. And this is all for this part, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
За энэ багштай тэмдэглэлийн төлөв. За Монгол Улсын их сургуулийн хувьд 17-аас 18 оны хичээл инженерийн багшийн хөгжлийг дэмжих хичээл болно. Зарласан энэ ажлын хүрээнд манай өдөр шинжилгээ инновацийн хэлтсээс энэ сургалтыг бид бүхэн захиалж зохион байгуулж байгаа. Юуны өмнө энэ сургалтанд хамрагдсан өчтөр бол Монгол Улсын төрийн чиглэлтэй сургуулийн дүнтэй судлаач багшлаа. За шинж ухааны академийн судалгааны хүрээлэнгийн бас дүнтэй судлаачид сургалтанд хамрагдаж сертификат авсан байгаа. За өнөөдрийн хувьд бол яг манай Монгол Улсын их сургуулийн бүрэлдэхүүн сургуулийн дүнтэй судлаачид энэ сургалтанд хамрагдаж байгаа. Энэ сургалтын ач холбогдол өндөр гэдгийг бол манай судлаач багш нар гэсэн ойлгож байгаа. Энэ сургалтанд хамрагдсан нийт багш нарын өмнөөс энэ сургалтыг цаг зав гаргаж Монгол Улсын их сургуулиар зохион байгуулсан Америкийн нэгдсэн улсын Creative Analytics компани Бээжинд төлөөлөгчийн газрын хамт олон. За сурагч багш, за sales manager Траус болон за энэ сургалтанд хүрэлцэн ирсэн манай хайрын байж байна. За ингээд өсгөөч сурагч багш нар маань та энэ сургалтанд оролцсон багш нарынхаа өмнөөс талархал төвшүүлж байна. За бид бүхэн та бүхэн их сургуулийн Facebook дээрээс авсан байгаа. Өчтөр тус компанитай Монгол Улсын их сургууль хамтран ажиллах юм санамж тавьсан байгаа. За энэ санамж бичгийн хүрээнд юуны өмнө 2 жилийн хугацаанд бол энэ мэдээллийн санд бол өмнө нэгдэх энэ эрхийг Монгол Улсын их сургууль төрч манай судлаач багшлаа. Энд одоо өөрөөр судалгаа эдийн засгийн ажлын тэр их одоо бүгдийн санд орох энэ ажиллагаа бол бүр нээлттэй болж байгаа. Энэ бол нийт хач холбогдол гэж би хэлэх байна. Хоёр дахь хач холбогдол нь бол манай Монгол Улсын их сургууль бол яг дэлхийн судалгааны их сургууль болох Монгол Улсын их сургуулийн стратеги projektыг ханган биелүүлэхтэй холбогдсон гол шалгуур үзүүлэлттэй нэг болсон. Энэ гол чухал асуудлаар бид хүн сургалт хийж багш нар маань ялангуяа манай нийгмийн ухаан, хүмүүнлэгийн ухааны багш нар маань энэ үзүүлэлтээр нэлээд орцож явдаг. Манай байгалийн ухааныхан маань бол нэлээд тэмүүлэх чиглэлтэй байж байгаа. Энэ чиглэлд хэрхэн яаж импакт фактор өндөр энэ сэтгүүлүүдэд хэрхэн яаж өгүүлээ гаргах уу, нийтлүүлэх үү, хэрхэн яаж ишлэлийг авах уу гэсэн энэ их олон зүйлийн талаар арга зүйн болоод онлын ийм одоо чухал сургалт боллоо гэж ингэж бодож байна. Тэгэхээр ингэснээр бол Монгол Улсын их сургууль одоогийн байдлаар Монгол Улсын 98 төрлийн болон хувийн төвчний ихтэй сургууль, шинж тухааны академийн олон хүрээлэнгүүд дундаас бид бүхэн бол энэ үзүүлэлтээр Монгол Улсад хэрэгжиж яваад энэ үзүүлэлт маань жилээс жилд яг гол үндсэн шалгуур үзүүлэлт маань өснө гэдэгт бол бид бүхэн бол итгэлтэй байна. За гэрээнд санам жижиг дурдгдсан бол дараагийн асуудал бол сургалтуудыг зохион байгуулах. Тэгэхээр сая бид бүхэн бол зочдод байгаа үеийн зоог бүрхтээ бол нэг асуудлыг шийдсэн. Энэ бол дараа жилийн сургалтыг бол 19 оны 9 сард зохион байгуулъя. За энэ сургалтыг зохион байгуулахдаа бол хятад нэр хүндүрхий одоо бас Чиндүнгийн их сургуулийн профессор яг энэ одоо өгүүлэлт яг энэ чиглэлээр бол нэлээд дадлагдсан энэ хүнийг авчирч бас сургалтуудыг хамтран зохион байгуулъя. За Монгол Улсын их сургуулийн зүгээс бол манай энэ сургалтанд хамрагдсан багш нар маань одоо та бүхэн сертификат авч авна. За тэрнээс гадна энэ хугацаанд Монгол Улсын их сургуулиас бас тодорхой тооны хүмүүсийг бидний компанид очиж бас сургагч багш энэ төвшөнд бэлтгэх тухай асуудлыг бид бүхэн бас яаж ингэж байна. За бид хүн санам жишээ болон баяжуулна. Цаашдаа Community Analytics компани төлөөлөгчийн газрыг Монгол Улсын их сургууль дээр байгуулж зөвхөн их сургуулийн багш нар хөгжихөөс гадна Монгол Улсын бусад ихтэй сургуулийн дүнтэй судлаач багш нар манай шинжилгээ ухааны одоо дүнтэй судлаач багш нар бол цаашдаа сургагч багш болж энийг түгээн дэлгэрүүлэх ийм чухал үйл явдал болж байна гэж би бас сонслон тэмдэглэхийг хүсэж байна. За түүнээс гадна бидний компанийн хувьд бол Монгол Улсын их сургуультай түншлэлийн зарчмаар цаашид хамтран ажиллаж өшөө олон зүйлийг ялангуяа одоо багш нарын ихтэй сургуулийн багш нарын оюуны үнэмшийн асуудал гэж байна. Энийг яаж хэрхэн яаж тодорхойлох вэ гэсэн энэ олон чиглэлүүдээр та бүхэн маань бол бас суралцсан байх. За Монгол Улсын их сургуулийн захиргааны зүгээс, ректоратын зүгээс бас энэ сургалтыг бидний компанитай байгуулсан энэ үйл ажиллагаагаа олон чиглэлээр өргөжүүлэн бас ингэж ажиллана гэж бид бүхэн бодож байна. Тэгээд дахин нийт одоо багш нарынхаа өмнөөс судлаач доктор профессорынхаа өмнөөс компани Mongolia-R&D компани хамт олон бас дахин талархал төвшүүлж байна.
I think in the last 2 days it was so great and pleased for me and for my colleagues to conduct this workshop to you. I think Web of Science is well known, is a good tool, very high level, high quality tool for researchers and scientists to do the research as well as to do the assessment. In the past several years, I know National University of Mongolia used Web of Science to award the top researchers and scientists who published the Web of Science papers, mostly in the university. I think these awards help the researchers and scientists to understand the value of Web of Science better and encourage the scientists and researchers to publish more high-quality Web of Science papers. And in the last 2 days, my colleagues conducted 2 days workshops. The first day is to demonstrate the value of Web of Science in the area of how to search and obtain the scientific literatures more quickly, efficiently, and precisely. And the second day today is to help the audience to understand how the Web of Science can help the officers to allocate resources and do better strategic planning. And we also shared the principles and the process of our company, how to select the journals. I do wish those content can help the researchers, scientists in National University of Mongolia, as well as the other universities to use Web of Science better and to do a better job. Thank you.